So, chapter 3, and thanks for hanging with me on this. Chapter 1, we're missing something. Chapter 2, what are we missing? Each other. So, chapter 3, where can we find it? And this is the hard part. Because as I discussed in chapter 2, it seems like the answer is nowhere, right? The spaces in our lives, in society, where we would come together, where we would find another, are being hollowed out, are disappearing. The spaces where we can find the full mix, the full complexity of our society, of our humanity. These are vanishing, endangered habitats because of social media, because of growing socioeconomic gaps in education and health and income and well-being, because of all of these forces that are dividing us. Genuine spaces where we can come together are vanishing. And even harder is to find spaces where not only do we come together, but we can genuinely be with one another as whole persons, where we can genuinely listen and hear and appreciate that I need you in order to better understand my world. We so often come with our knowledge, with our sense of right and truth, but to really come with a sense of not knowing, a sense of doubt altogether, despite whatever role or status or position we have in society, to in some way be equals on a search together for truth and understanding. It's pretty hard to find. And if you search long and hard enough, you eventually come to the conclusion that it cannot be found alone, that we can only hold it together. And that if enough of us who are searching for each other do come together, then together we can will into existence exactly the space that we need, that we've been looking for, where we can find one another. It's something magic and it's something beautiful. And we've begun to call this magic, beautiful place Basecamp. And why? Because Basecamp is where journeys begin. Journeys that we can only take together. And we've just begun to explore this space, but already here are 3 of the big features that we've found. And the first and dominant feature of Basecamp is the campfire. It's the first place that we arrive to, all of us, when we come to Basecamp. And it's the place where we practice how to really find each other in a way that is hard to do in the world outside of Basecamp. And if you think about sitting around a campfire, what are the practices? What are the values that we learn to develop? Values like making space. Right? It's pretty easy to see. It's immediately obvious when you sit around a campfire who is creating space for one another around that fire and who is trying to kind of suck up all the oxygen and the attention for themselves. It's also kind of obvious, what are some of the things that just don't really fit into campfire conversation? I mean, do we try to make a big point about what a big deal we are, out there in the outside world? No, probably not, right? This is a space where we express parts of ourselves, maybe more natural, deeper, honest parts of ourselves that aren't tied up in all that other stuff. And the campfire is also a space where we practice contribution. When the fire is burning low, what do? Do we kind of look around for somebody else to put wood on the fire? No, of course not. We all take a turn tending the fire, putting on wood, feeding it what it needs, because it nourishes us and it also nourishes everyone else around the fire. And what we've discovered is that the more we sit around this campfire together, the more we develop a kind of superpower that we didn't have before. And that superpower is to see things that we couldn't see, to hear things that we couldn't hear, and to understand things that before just weren't normally understood. So that is the campfire. And the campfire is where we practice the fundamental skill of being together with a mix of people that is missing from our daily lives and missing from our sense making of the world and all of its rich complexities. A second feature of Basecamp that we have discovered is what we've started to call the lookout. So Basecamp is a place to be together, but not only that, we have this superpower as campers, and with great power comes great responsibility. And so if the campfire is a place to be together, the lookout is a place where we think together, where we dream together, where we challenge and inspire one another to take this potential energy, this spirit of the campfire, and to look out into the world, into those topics that preoccupy us, whether it is health or education or leadership or public administration or the role of the arts or whatever it might be. And from this place inside Basecamp, from this high lookout, to recognize the maps that we have been navigating by and to tear them up. To tear them up because they don't tell us where to go and they don't tell us how to get there, because they've led us to places where we don't want to be. And so we tear them up and we are lost together in the best possible way, because we are lost and we are liberated to go on a new journey of discovery. That's the energy and the feeling of the lookout. And at the lookout is where we have discovered another superpower that Basecamp has imparted to us. And that superpower is to snap our fingers and instantly be surrounded by an improbable group of campers who want to go on a journey of discovery along with us. And so the lookout is a place that individual campers can go up to, but they come back as members of a scouting party on a journey of discovery together. And around the campfire, we celebrate everyone who goes to the lookout and comes back as a member of one of those scouting parties, because our hope is that, not only are they going to help us to tear up some of the old maps we've been navigating by, but that some of these scouting parties are going to make genuine discoveries that are going to give us all new maps to navigate by. There is a third feature of Basecamp that we have already discovered, but this one is still pretty mysterious. So you can imagine in Basecamp that there is a grove of trees, and in the middle of that grove is a clearing, and around that clearing is a circle of 7 giant stones. And so we call it the circle. And the thing about the circle is no one's managed to get inside it yet. There is some barrier that prevents us from penetrating that sacred space within Basecamp. What we think, we don't know, but what we think we know is that you can only enter the circle as a group, and the 7 stones suggest to us that it needs to be 7 groups, 7 scouting parties. And we don't know what might happen when 7 scouting parties enter into that circle of stones. But everything that we've experienced at Basecamp up until now tells us that it will be worth the effort to find out. And so this circle of 7 stones, it stands there urging us to get good at being in the other places of Basecamp that we already do have access to get good at sitting around and tending the campfire together, to get good at standing at the lookout and thinking and dreaming, tearing up our old maps and forming scouting parties in search of what the new ones might be. And maybe if we get good enough at those basic rituals, at those already wonderful powers that this space gives to us, maybe we'll see what happens when we get into the circle as well. Even though so much of Basecamp still remains unexplored, still remains not fully understood, it is already a precious and a powerful space for those of us who find it. And in a way, just like COVID-19, just like this global pandemic has for so many people opened up a space to be and think and act differently, Basecamp is a space where we can be and think and act differently that does not depend for its existence on a global health emergency. But it does depend on all of us caring for it and respecting it. And so far we've learned that means a few things. It means first that Basecamp formally has to be a nonprofit foundation. Right? We all have to understand that we are holding this space together in order to pass it freely onto those who come after us. We are stewards and caretakers, but not owners of this space. And the second thing that caring for Basecamp means is that we all come as contributors and none of us come as customers. So many base campers donate their time. Every base camper makes a money gift to help maintain and support this shared space together, to afford us all the professional administrators that this space deserves. Some of us give a lot, some of us give a little, but we all give according to our ability, and we give knowing that this is not a price that we are paying to someone else. This is a gift that we are giving ourselves, that we are giving to one another, and that we are giving to this space that will have a life long beyond our own use of it. And the third way we care for this space is by keeping the entrance hidden. So only another camper, only someone who has sat at the campfire and who has tried the hard work to be and think differently by thinking together with people around that campfire. Only campers can invite new people to sit around the fire with us. And so inviting people into this space is a massive act of trust that we are all trusted to do, and it is an act that we all take incredibly seriously, because having worked so hard to create this space, we certainly don't want to lose it, we don't want to damage it, but we don't want to selfishly keep it to ourselves either. We live in a moment of incredible possibility and terrible danger. And here we are in the midst of the latest terrible crisis that not enough of us saw coming, that too many of us are suffering from. And what is the lesson that we are supposed to take away? I think it is how much we need each other. And not just to lean on each other in a time like now when times are tough, but how much we need each other to make sense of the world, to understand why we are in this moment, here and now, so that we can begin to genuinely imagine a path to a different and more beautiful world. We need each other. Why? To find the way, to find the path. And so wherever we are together, genuinely together, that is a point of incredible hope and possibility. And isn't that what a base camp is?